The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Live tonight from the Silver State, the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series presented by Hippie's Paint Shop rolls into the fourth week of 10 on this Winter B-Car Series Championship and into the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for tonight's Las Vegas 120. Good evening, sim racing fans. As always, so happy to be with you on a Monday night on LSRTV and iRacing Live. Myself, Evan Pasoko, topside tonight with Mr. Austin Coop and Gabe Wood at the LSRTV broadcast booth. And as always, downstairs pushing the buttons and bringing us to you is Cisco Scarluzzo. We come into tonight's race, 3 races down into the 4th again on this 10-race championship, but it is an interesting one because we've got an off week coming up and we will not be back in action until January the 2nd from Michigan, which will, I think quite significantly enough, mark the halfway point in this championship. So we come into tonight from Las Vegas, Austin, coming off of another 1.5-mile racetrack just 1 week ago from the Texas Motor Speedway. Texas, in and of itself, you look at the numbers, it's quite similar to a place like a Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but you toss these guys on track and the two really can't be compared. So tonight, I think we're looking at a completely different race from what we saw 7 days ago.
Oh, yeah, and you would know it, I think, better than all of us because you've actually been to the actual track. The fact that this track's a lot smoother, you can go so much faster in the corners, and you can definitely take some different lines. There's about 2 distinct lines at Texas, but there's about 3 or maybe even 4 if you really want to here at Texas or at Las Vegas. My apologies. And to go off what you said about the weeks coming up, then how they won't have any races, that's a big deal. 2 weeks off can really throw the game off of some of these guys, and the fact that they're going to be off, celebrating whatever holidays they got to do, and that's a long time for some of these drivers, and some of these guys are doing this series for the first time. Some of these are veterans. It's not going to affect them as much. For guys like David Comstock, Jeff Ward, Brian Macklin, and Hale and Cole, who are the top 5 in qualifying at the moment, this isn't that quite of a big deal because they're regulars. But some of the guys towards the bottom, they really got to probably practice during that time just to keep up with some of these guys.
And it is kind of that awkward stage of the season because we have the off week because we're not going to be racing on the day after Christmas. We come back the day after New Year's. Then we have another off week, and we don't get to round number 6 until the 16th of January. So we start off this season, when you include tonight 4 races back-to-back. It'll take a month to get the next 2 in, and then we finish it off with 4 more weeks, all back-to-back at the end: Atlanta, Chicago, Kentucky, and Homestead. Tonight's coverage of the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series is brought to you in part by Hippie's Paint Shop. Hippie's Paint Shop has over 5 years of providing top-quality custom paint schemes for all iRacing vehicles at a low price, because after all, at Hippie's Paint Shop, the cost isn't high, it's just the painter. And I know that the guys at Hippie's Paint Shop, you'll see a lot of cars on track tonight that are done up in the Hippie's colors, and I know that they've been a big part of RSR racing for the last couple of years, Gabe. About this specifically, though, as these guys begin to wind down into the qualifying session and get set to get this race underway. We come into tonight, again, it is still early on, but Scott Simley enters tonight at the top of your championship standings. E.J. O'Rourke, David Comstock, Mike Kelly, Doug Roth, the top 5. The Icebreaker Winter Series is also so interesting because we see always the big names in the Full Throttle Cup Series, and then we also get that mix of some new names come this off-season championship, but the guys up in the top 5 are all RSR regulars. No surprises seeing those guys, but I think Scott Simley doing good right now, still without a win, but he's yet to finish outside the top 10 all year.
Yeah, and the guys from the Full Throttle Cup Series always use this series in the winter as soon as they get done at Homestead with the Full Throttle Cup Series and the chase ending at the end of November. They use this series to gear up and get ready for the Daytona 500 in February. It's a big event, but these guys go through this series. They know they want to win because, like you said, it's all the guys from Full Throttle Cup and a few faster drivers mixed in there as well. all of them want to win. All of them want to get up front early here at Las Vegas, especially because it's a very fast racetrack, and you can kind of see who's going to be able to save their tires the best, because this is one of the racetracks on like the NASCAR schedule that is hard on tires, and you can see some green flag runs here early.
Cars on track and a qualifying session is coming on. We're set to take a look at tonight's LSRTV starting grid for round number 4. David Comstock with Monster Energy colors on board will bring us to the green flag tonight with a 30.446. Was 3/1000ths better than Jeff Ward. Will have to start in P2 tonight. Brian Backlund will roll for the inside of row number 2 and 3rd, with William Hale and Chad Cole inside of the top 5.
And Bobby Terrell just barely misses out that top 5 by a few 100ths of a second. And Scott Stenzel rounds out behind him with Jose Gonzalez in 8th, Tim Matthews in 9th, and PJ O'Rourke will finish out your top 10 in the number 41 car.
Number 20 of A.J. Brown is going to be your first car outside the top 10 in 11th. Dwayne Vincent in the number 13 rolls off in 12th. Justin Lisenby in the number 33 machine rolls off in 13th. 14th is going to go to one of the series admins, John Abbott in the number 10. And Bobby Wetzel is going to roll off in 15th.
Fan favorite in a fan-painted paint scheme tonight behind the wheel of that number 27 Chevrolet is Jeff Fabiano in 16th. Behind him, Scott Brotherton and Mike Kelly make up 17th and 18th position, and row 10 is the 35 of Gerald Campbell and the 55 of Michael Waters through 20th.
It looks like Scott Simley didn't get much practice time here, so he did all right for qualifying. He does get 21st with a 30.7, and then Eric Arnold right beside him in 22nd. Jeremy Bazemore will start 23rd with Alan Rowell in 24th, and Doug Roth will finish out the 25th position.
26 is going to be the 36 of Steve Bevaquat. Jeffrey Ford in the number 95 rolls off in 27th. 28 is going to go to Josh Cheney in the number 45, Joe Hudson in 29th, and David Batone rounds out your top 30 in the 66 machine.
Those are all the drivers that take a time into qualifying tonight. A couple of provisionals going to round out the field here tonight. Mike Franklin going to start in 31st position with Brendan Mercer in 32nd. Michael Priester slated to start 33rd, not on track, although he was 27th in practice. Eric Scherber on the inside of the next row in 34th position, therefore, and then Douglas Wyatt shotgun on the field tonight in 35th position. That's a look top to bottom at your LSR TV starting grid for tonight's Las Vegas 20. We talk about this Las Vegas Motor Speedway, a 1.5 mile asphalt oval with banking progressive 12 through 20 degrees. It is a tri-oval on the front straightaway as opposed to what we saw at Texas a week ago with the quad oval. It should be a fun race tonight. On the board, 120 laps and 180 miles as we get set to roll the dice in Las Vegas. As always, we're happy to have you with us on LSR TV and iRacing Live. The iRacing.com pace car going to make the sharp left-hand turn down to the pit lane, and the field is in the hands of that number 40 machine. On the gas is David Comstock. American Ethanol green flag and underway for the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Good jump for the Chevrolet Camaro. Leads the way off to turn number 1. Brian Macklin jumps up, takes P2.
Yeah, and that was a pretty obvious move. Those two obviously teammates. They've been working really hard together. The only one who's really seen great results is that number 40. The 03 of Brian Macklin, really looking for something good this season. Really has been wrecked out of almost every race, I think, at this point in the season. So really looking for something good to happen for him. He gets an amazing jump, and behind him, it looks like William Hale gets a position, and that over Chad Cole there.
Lap 1 going to be in the books, and Comstock is able to pick up the first bonus point. He was 18th in practice, so didn't show a lot of speed, but looking good here very early on. I noted that he was 3rd in the championship. That put him just 12 points back. And while everybody else throughout the field, still a lot of side-by-side fighting going on as they try to find a place in line. One battle includes the 8 of Chad Cole. He is up on the inside of that 9 of Jeff Ward. It's a battle for about 5th position. A battle for the race lead is on, and it's over with just as quickly as it started. Brian Macklin all got a big run at a turn number 2, was able to successfully carry it off to 3 and 4. He leads lap number 2, but Gabe, the 40 machine, not give it up. Comstock right back down to the bottom, crossover to get it back.
As that battle settles down, still the battle for 4th or 3rd going on between the 8 of Chad Cole and the 62 of William Hale. And here comes Jeff Ward in the number 9 machine. He's going to stick his nose in there, go to the 4th position momentarily coming off of turn number 4. Maybe Chad Cole's going to get that run off the outside of the racetrack. Right behind them, the number 14 of Bobby Terrell in that muscle milk machine. He's going to try and take advantage of these guys racing side by side. A lot of racing going on. Scott Stenzel, he started in the 7th position running there as well. E.J. O'Rourke and the number 41, they're also side by side.
All of this still inside of the top 10. The 42 of Stenzel on the inside of the racetrack should have an upper hand in the 41, at least down at this end of the racetrack in 3 and 4. He'll slide high and kind of shut the door on the 40, but a nice move by Stenzel to be able to hang on. How about some 3 wide in front, though, for maybe just a brief moment? Chad Cole going to end up back in the middle, but things are getting awfully tight there with the 9 of Jeff Ward and the 62 of William Hale. And the 03 of Brian Macklin, who was leading this race 3 laps ago, Austin, he's not safe from this battle at all because they're right on his bumper.
No, and he's lost a lot of momentum since the start of the race. Really was really good out of the gate, and now these guys are eating his lunch basically, and it's only going to hurt the guy on the outside, and that's William Hale. And we've talked about how he's had a up and down season as well as Macklin, and you can see the 62's trying to decide whether he wants to make it 3 wide, but obviously making the better decision to stay behind him and maybe make it 3 wide in the corner. That's going to be the better way to do it instead of on the straightaway in the entrance, but he's still staying behind him, hoping that Macklin will get a good run off, and he's still side by side with Jeff Ward as they're 2x2 for second and fourth position, and it looked like that 03 does get the advantage this time by. They really started eating him up. Wow, look at the outside move by the 62 of William Hale. Almost gets into the wall, but it kind of paid off right there as he's going to probably make the pass here coming in turn 1.
It was awfully tight, as I said that time before, and I know that it is a biased opinion, but I absolutely love the racing at this racetrack. These guys are losing touch with David Comstock. He's been able to pull out about 3/4 of a second in front, as you would expect, but everybody else kind of gets caught up in this fight. Brian Macklin still hasn't had to really deal with any of this, as you see William Hale behind be able to maintain P3, and he might just get a shot at the 03. Big run to the back bumper. 03 moves down to the white line, is able to protect and hold him off. And I think for the first time, these guys are single file off to turn number 1. Chad Cole going to make that short-lived. He throws it to the inside, and look at the 9 of Jeff Ward way up to the fence, but he'll run out of room.
Still side by side between the 8 and the 62 is Brian Macklin holding up the rest of the top 10 there for him. Looks like for his teammate, letting David Comstock in the number 40 machine pull away. That number 8 of Chad Cole down to the bottom of the front straightaway. Look for him to duck to the apron maybe. No, it's the 03 of Macklin ducks down to the apron, trying to make up just a little bit of time. Meanwhile, looks like the number 42 of Scott Stenzel. He's working his way up through the field. He made up one position there last lap and looking to get around Jeff Ward. He's not going to get clear just yet, and he's going to have that 9 to deal with. But they're still battling side by side between the 8, the 62, the 14. It looks like the 14 had to check up for Chad Cole, and the 9 of Jeff Ward's going to get a run on the outside.
This is really consuming everybody inside of the top 10 the last time by, and we'll get an updated look at the standings this time through, but second position through 10th were separated by 9/10 of a second. So this is very much an active battle on the racetrack, but not a whole lot of people have lost 3 or 4 plus positions. Maybe somebody's picked up 1 or 2 here, somebody therefore has to lose 1 or 2 there, but not a lot of big movers in this pack specifically, which may be a little bit contrary to what we would expect based on just how much fighting we've seen. A little bit further back now, Justin Lisenby. He's going to get himself into this fight. The Ream Chevrolet on the inside of the Gary Mercer truck at entry of E.J. O'Rourke topside. That one will be a side-by-side battle for P9 off in 1 and 2.
Yeah, and also got to watch Dwayne Vincent. He's up from 12th to 8th, so up 4 spots. So he's one of our bigger movers. And when you said that there's been, a few positions back here, Gabe, there's that one guy, Dwayne Vincent, who's really kind of started really reeling these guys in. And I think just now is when they're starting to get settled. But as soon as one guy starts to make a move is when they get bunched up again. And whenever William went for that move on second place on Macklin, that's when the 8 started to get up to him. That's when the 14 and the 9 and everyone else behind them started to stack up because they were realizing that they could make up that ground. And when you get side by side at this track, you could almost go the same speed, but the guy on the top has to take a wider arc, goes the longer route, and the guy on the bottom can't go up the top and get the momentum that he's looking for. So it's almost like a stalemate in the corner, and neither of you can go fast. So it's almost like you got to wait for the guy in front of you to make a real big mistake, and that's how Macklin's really been able to hold on to that second position. And then the guys behind him, I think Hale, the only reason he's been able to keep his spot is because of his really aggressive assertion at the beginning, and he's still in third. But that's really the kind of predicament you're in. You just almost have to wait a little bit for some of these guys to make a mistake.
And even that time through 1 and 2, you'll see it every single time. In 3 and 4, everybody agrees a little bit more than they do at the other end of the racetrack that you want to get low. But often 1 and 2, you'll see everybody take a variety of different lanes, whether it be a whole car length up the racetrack or maybe half a lane up. It doesn't matter. Everybody trying to get a little bit of something to give them an advantage. These guys are slowly starting to spread apart. Chad Cole once again in that number 8 Toyota, going to make that aggressive dive to the inside in 1. He tried it once on Hale. He tries it again. It doesn't work. The 62 is going to be able to stay in front of him for 3rd, but now looked like Bobby Terrell might have been thinking about creeping to the outside to keep it out. That Muscle Belt Chevrolet, he does drop back in line. Since the battle could be on the horizon for P4, how about a little bit of a bump off the corner at 175 miles an hour?
Well, you know, Evan, you and Austin were talking about, we haven't seen that many people move up the field except for maybe the 13 of Dwayne Vincent, but we've seen so much side-by-side racing. That's a testament to how competitive this racetrack is with the outside and inside lane and even the middle lane. And, hey, Evan, we saw the battle between the 03 and the 62 a few laps ago and really the rest of the top 10. Ever since then, it was about a 1-second gap between the two leaders. Now, Brian Macklin in the 03, he is reeling in the 40 of David Comstock about 1/10 per lap.
Talking about movers, somebody who was doing good, and I was just about to note Bobby Wetzel, who had gone from 15th to 11 in the Tide Chevrolet. I was just about to say he was doing good. A very interesting incident there. He got a little bit loose. It drops him outside of the top 20. He was able to hang on, and nothing really came from it. But what we see a lot on these intermediate tracks is guys using the apron on the front straightaway here. And the front stretch does have some banking at Las Vegas, and it's just a little bit of a difference. So to Comstock that time by, all 4 tires below. Macklin, all 4 tires below. What we saw with Wetzel a couple of laps ago is he straddled that white line, had his left side tires on the apron, the right side tires up on the racetrack, and these cars will get extremely loose on the front straightaway if you do that, and Wetzel pays the price as he drops back to 22nd, so that might be something to keep an eye on as this race goes on, talking about committing to go down to the apron. How about 2 wide, 2 rows deep? The battle is back on inside of the top 10. Jeff Ward up the inside of Bobby Terrell, side by side for the last spot inside the top 5.
And Jeff Ward doesn't want to lose any more positions. He's gone from 2nd to now 5th, still really trying to keep that spot. And Jeff Ward's a really good driver on tracks like these. But at this point in the race, it looks like he's losing a little bit. Back up front, we'll talk about Macklin in just a second. But I think Ward wants to go back up to the top. I've raced with him in previous seasons of other leagues before, and he's really a guy who likes the top side. He's really good at it. But he's stuck on the bottom. I think once he passes the muscle milk machine here, he'll be able to get to do what he wants in the corners. As you see that 14 really creeping, you're watching that 9 car go all the way to the bottom, and look at it go all the way to the top now. And just like I said, it seems like these guys really want to try different things, and when they try it and someone takes an advantage and goes to the outside, then you kind of get stuck. And I think that was where he was at. And going back to Brian Macklin, we saw him go really aggressive at the beginning of that run and hunt down David Comstock to lead an all-important lap, and then he lost it, and now he's trying to get it back again. Maybe he's saved his tires enough while those guys have been battling behind him, but he does lose a 10th this time by, as you're seeing everyone get really close to the wall on the outside. That seems to be where the line is starting to go.
Definitely moving around, as not only do these tires wear off for the first run of the race, but also as more rubber gets put down onto the racetrack. You see the guys off in 3 and 4. Again, a couple of laps ago, we were just talking about how everybody was agreeing the bottom was the place to be. Last time by, both Comstock and Macklin right up on that outside wall. Didn't look like it worked out, though, for Macklin, because William Hale's right back there to the Mac bumper. He's been defending 3rd place for quite some time tonight, and he'll go high off into the corner. Chad Cole, somebody else who's been favoring running the lower line. So there are a multitude of options, Gabe, on where you want to run at both ends of the racetrack, which is something that we kind of touched on earlier.
Yeah, and me and Austin, we were racing in the Winston Cup Series at Texas here last week for the RSR Series. And you saw, after a few laps, everybody moved to the top, and Unfortunately, I was one of the people that did not agree with that. I did not realize everybody was moving to the top. You do not want to be the second person to make that move, because if you do, you're already losing time. It looks like the 8's trying to get around that 62 of William Hale, and meanwhile, while they're doing that, they're reeling in the 03 of Brian Macklin yet again. But that lead's kind of stabilized between the 40 and the 03, the two teammates up front. And now they move back down to the bottom side, or at least Macklin has, as the 40 is running high, wide, and handsome through turn 3 and 4.
I don't really think it's controversial to say that I think Chad Cole might be a little bit better than William Hale at this point. But again, sometimes a little bit better is just not going to cut it, because the 62, Austin, as you said, has been running quite the defensive line since the 8 started making those moves on him over 10 laps ago. He's tried a couple of times, hasn't been able to do it. And when that 8 goes to the bottom, you see the 62 right here. Cole going to put a nose to the bottom. William Hale has no interest in blocking the inside lane because he doesn't want the bottom. He hangs his line. He's able to get the run off of the corner and stay in front of the 8, because on the inside, you just got to wait to get back to the gas. I was talking about a loose car on the front stretch. If you get down on that apron, this car can get really, really tight if you start to really have to turn the wheel and get back to the gas too soon. So now William Hale, interestingly enough, though, in a tricky spot, because now he goes to the bottom. This is what Chad Cole's been trying to do to get around him all night, and we'll see if he's able to use this to get around Brian Macklin on the outside of the racetrack side by side for second.
Yeah, and William Hale's not a person to give up a spot easily. You know, I've spotted him in races past, and he's still getting a challenge for that spot. And you notice how defensively he's still driving. It's only lap 25, but that's just the way he is. William's a really aggressive, hard charging driver, and he's still going to slide up right in front of Macklin here. Macklin may even give him a bump or try and pass him on the inside with a crossover off the corner, which is exactly what he does. And then Hale's going to have the top, just like he wants to. I think Macklin likes the top just as much as Hale does, and you're seeing them get really close off those corners. This is gonna be a good battle for the next couple laps, but only to benefit the guys behind them. The 9 of Jeff Ward is right there, and then Chad Cole. These 4 have been where they are at the entire race, and this is I mean, some of the best racing I think we've seen all season, especially from some of these guys who have really kind of been not sleepers this entire season, but we haven't seen them race this close and this hard before.
We'll keep our eyes on the action. Did want you to know there was an accident back on lap 23. Douglas Wyatt got into the fence at a turn 2, snapped back down the hill, and he collected Brennan Mercer. Mercer spun down to the inside wall. Heavy right-hand damage. He was able to limp it back to the pit lane. That car is on pit road with repairs at the moment. Not officially out of this race. Do want to note, though, that Brandon Hastings and Mike Franklin have had self-incidents of their own that have forced them behind the fence. But other than that, through 27 laps, we are still clean and green, at least up front and inside of the top 10. That battle continues. Ward and the 8 of Cole on the outside. The bottom occupied by Hale and Macklin. And again, it's a 4-car battle for second through fifth.
As soon as that 03 of Brian Macklin lost that second place position with the 62 of William Hale, as we got a little bit of contact, they're side by side going into turn number 2. Door danging here in turn number 2. Chad Cole is going to complete that pass on the 62. He's not going to be happy about that. But as soon as the 62 got around, that 9 of Jeff Ward jumped to the top side of the racetrack and was able to get around the 62 and move into second. Now, that 9 of Jeff Ward, he's got a very good car. I'm really interested to see if he's worn out his tires trying to get around them, or if he's got something to take that lead.
Look at the 62. See, awfully loose there when he kind of straddled that white line down the front stretch. He and Macklin were running in 2 and 3 a couple of laps ago. They were running 4 or 5 the last time, but a 62 was able to make the pass on the front stretch. Not that easy, though. Here comes Brian Macklin back on the outside of the racetrack. Gets the run from the top using those 20 degrees of banking to his advantage, and at least makes it a fight once again. And somebody who we haven't talked about yet, how about Jose Gonzalez? The Meatball Mobile started in 8th, he's +2, and now he is caught up to the tail end of this side-by-side fight in front of him for the final spot inside of the top 5. As that battle goes on, Jeff Ford and Chad Cole seem to appreciate the fact that they've been able to get by that blockade in front of them. They are 1.2 seconds behind Comstock. We'll see how well they catch up in clean air as we keep looking at this battle for 5th.
I'll tell you, if there's anyone who can save the tires more than a lot of these other guys, it's going to be Jose Gonzalez. He's somebody that just doesn't appear at the beginning of a run, but at the end of a run, you go, whoa, where did he come from? And that's basically Jose Gonzalez right there, and he's trying to find a way to get around these guys. It's going to be hard with as hard as these two have been racing, especially with the way that Hale has damage and that Macklin's been losing spots. So neither of them really want to lose any spots, and it looks like he's trying to make it 3 wide. He's going to thread the needle in the middle now as they part almost in favor for him. It looks like Macklin's going to concede that position. Jose's going to go to the bottom and make it a 2-car sweep. Wow, what a move. Huge move for him. He's going to take 2 cars that lap.
Last time by, he was in the number 6 spot. This time, he will take over 4th, Jose Gonzalez. And it looked like that was going to be really bad news for William Hale because he was the one slotted up in a corner, and he was actually able to maintain the race lead when they got down to 3, but he was still not quite able to get that car back under control. It pushed up the hill, and the seas parted for Mr. Jose Gonzalez. He went to the inside, picked up 2 spots, and 26 says, you guys have fun, I'm out of here. So we'll see if this saga between Hale and Macklin continues. There is a fight behind them. Another driver, I think, that kind of fits the definition, as we were talking about the kind of racer that Jose Gonzalez is somebody like a Bobby Terrell. His nickname is Here Comes Bobby. He comes into these late. Hasn't had a great start. Started in 6th. He's back in 8th at the moment. Trying to get 1 spot back. But Scott Stenzel not giving it up. The Baby Ruth 4 top side. The advantage that time off the corner. And the 13 of Dwayne Vincent right there on top of these guys. Started outside the top 10, but is now P9.
Stenzel's been in that position all race, went up to 6th, down to 8th, and now running in 7th where he started the night. But that little battle between him and the 14 as the 14 blocks the 13 as they go onto the front straightaway. But Dwayne Vincent is going to get to the bottom side as they go into turn number 1. He's going to try and take that position from the 14 of Bobby Terrell. Back up front, I want to talk about Jeff Ward and Chad Cole. I thought we had a little battle brewing, but I think Chad, he thought better of it. He realized that they were catching the 40 of David Comstock, and he just let that 9 go, and it went from 1 second to 1.2 whenever they were battling side by side with the 62 and the 03. It's now down back to half a second where it was about 20 laps ago. So Evan will yet again maybe have a battle for the lead.
Well, that's why I noted those guys got clear, and I was curious. It was 1.2 seconds. But Ward and Cole got cleared the last time by. Jeff Ward is under a half a second back, and they are closing in on David Comstock. You wouldn't think that the guys who have been in a battle for the majority of this race have been able to save their tires better than the guy that's in clean air, but David Comstock is somebody who we know if he wants his tires to make it this far in the race, he'll definitely do it, and I don't think that, despite the fact that these guys are closing in on him a little bit, is too much of a concern for his strategy. The non-machine, though, Jeff Ward has been substantially better than Cole the last couple of laps, but you saw that time by. A little bit of a blunder allowed Chad Cole to get on by, so the number 8 machine up to his highest point tonight in P2.
And just as they were catching him, too, because they were under 4/10 of a second, or under 5/10 of a second on right behind Comstock, and it was just one of those things where if they waited a little bit, you might have thought, hey, they're going to catch him, and Chad Cole still might, but now you got to think Jeff Ward just had a really good shot at maybe catching him, and Jeff might be like, you know, if you're going to race me still, I'm going to race you back, and I'm going to try and keep my position, because that could be the battle for the lead for me if this keeps going green. And then also got to think about pit stops, as they're not too far away too. And Jeff Ward might think, hey, I kind of want that position back. So that's something to think about. But that Chad Cole machine does look like he's starting to run the leader down. But he's also got to worry about Jeff Ward right behind him. And then Jose Gonzalez in 4th, 1.6 seconds back from the lead. And then looks like half a second or so behind him, as you're seeing, starting to catch him about 7/10 that time, but he was 8/10 the light before that. And then you also got to think about the battle between Hale and Macklin that is still going on out of turn 2. They've been fighting side by side for the better of looks like 10 laps at this point, and looks like Hale gets the advantage that time, but they're not done fighting. These guys have been fighting for way too long to say it's been done.
You see the 75 coming up on him. That is a lap machine with fresh tires. Joe Hudson, because pit stops are in the works. Brian Macklin going to come down this time. So is Bobby Terrell as well. Mike Kelly down to the pit lane. This is 2 laps shy of 1/3 distance in this race. So it makes it pretty clear. Again, this race still been clean since the start, that it looks like it is going to be a 2-stop call on the night. If everybody's able to cycle through this cycle of pit stops nice and clean, you would expect them to be back in around lap 40. We'll see how late David Comstock hangs out. The 40's not going to test his luck much longer. He drives out. Look at Chad Cole in the 8 contact! First and second get into each other on the entrance to the pit lane. Comstock keeps on going, and Chad Cole ended up in the grass. Damage on both of those cars.
Oh, he just got rejected, basically. And it was all, there's nothing that Comstock did wrong, but the 8 car he damaged him pretty bad. I mean, that's not. I mean, I know it's at 40, 50 miles an hour, but that's really going to ruin a lot of the aerodynamics on that car. It's a really, really big deal. It didn't look like it at first, but the Chad Cole machine, he's gonna lose a lot of time. He's also gonna have a penalty, so this might effectively end his run at the lead later on, and the win, of course. But huge implications for that guy at the end of for the long-term effects of this race. I'm pretty sure he's gonna get a penalty. We'll just have to see how it all plays out. He made the cone, and then he exited off of the yellow line, so we'll just have to see how it goes. Doesn't look like for him the damage isn't back; it's on his left side.
But he's able to get right back out. I thought he'd be in the, because as you mentioned, contact put him out in the grass. He's back on track at the moment, so if there's any good news, it's that the 8 may have been able to avoid that penalty, but neither he nor Comstock stayed on pit road for any longer to get their damage repaired. And look at the battle right now for 12th. You see the on of Jeff Ward up the inside, made it look easy getting around David Comstock. So the question is, does that damage on the right-hand side of the 40 hurt him at all? Because Ward made that look really easy on the execution of the pass.
Then they go to the inside of the 13 of Dwayne Vincent, who is our leader, so they're going to get back onto the lead lap. It's a 13. He's going to be trapped to the outside, so he's not going to be able to pit this time by. He's going to lose even more time to the leaders, or to the old leaders, I should say, as David Comstock. He is going to lose that provisional lead to the 9 of Jeff Ward. It looked like on the entrance to pit road, Chad Cole, he locked the rear brakes up and it went to slide, and he let off the brakes to kind of settle the car down, and he was just going too fast, and he tried to shove it in there, but it just did not work. And I'm surprised David Comstock is still running this fast. He's that competitive. It was a very big hit to the right side door.
I think what it looked like is Chad Cole wanted to come down pit road because Comstock was, and he was just about a half a second late on the reaction. That there's a white line down on the apron at the entry of the pit lane, that if you're down there, it's a little bit better. If you're higher up there, you're still kind of have the right side of your tires on the bank, and it's a lot harder to get it wound down, and I think that little bit of a hesitation is what caused the contact. We've seen times in the past, though, Cole just drive down pit road harder than some of these other guys and beat them onto the pit lane and end up having a better cycle, but it looked like quite clearly that the 8 didn't necessarily have a handle on top 9 cars on track right now. You can make it about the top 8 because Bobby Wetzel was just passed by Jeff Ward for that number 9 position. But I think the top 8 have still yet to come down to the pit lane, and I think the driver who's going to end up in control when all of this does cycle through will be Jeff Ward in that 9 Chevrolet.
Oh yeah, that 9 car is kind of got a gift from the pit road gods that the 40 would have an incident. And like Gabe said, it's surprising that the 40 car is doing as well as he's doing, although I think it will affect him long term. It might not be like more than a few miles an hour, but that's going to be a lot in the long run, especially as the tires start to wear out. And with that much air going through his car in the wrong way, it's just going to make that car start to turn in a completely different way. And with that much damage, I mean, I think we've all at least been in the sim long enough to know that your car is going to drive a lot different too. So I'm sure David's had to relearn the car basically in a completely different way too than where he practiced. And they had a 3-hour open practice. So at that point, you got to think to yourself, there's a lot to relearn, but he's still in a good position. Jeff Ward currently in 7th, and David Comstock currently in 8th. So those two guys are probably going to be the 2 front runners at the end of these pit cycles. And Dwayne Vincent, of course, leads right now, taking up some of those bonus points, soaking up that part. But David Comstock really is the big loser here, and not right now, but maybe later.
Well, I
Those
want to
6
say something
drivers
on top
still
of,
have yet to pit, but I think also we should note, and I think that lap 40, again, made the strategy very easy. 40, 40, 40 to get you to 120 on 2 stops. The guys that have yet to pit, and now Vincent in the fence, by the way, race leader, spinning at a corner number 2. He is going to hang on once and twice, and he's into the inside fence. So Dwayne Vincent, old tires, loses it at a corner number 2 by himself. No caution. He's off for the racetrack. It's going to put Tim Matthews to the race lead, and we'll take a second look at this one, Gabe. What I was going to say is maybe these guys are trying to stretch it to lap 60 and go on a one-stop strategy, because if that's not that case, I can't think of any other reason why these guys would want to stay out here, because you've already got guys who have come down pit road and pitted that are catching up to them, and these guys haven't even left the racetrack yet.
Well, I want to add something on to what Austin said, and I was going to include, the 40 and the 8 of Chad Cole, but now I can include the 13 of Dwayne Vincent as well, because he was in the top 10 before these pit stops happened. Even if they get their cars repaired, it's not going to drive the same, and it's not going to be as competitive as we got the 9 of Jeff Ward moving around, and the 13 of Dwayne Vincent, as he's going to move inside the top 5. Tim Matthews, he's still on the racetrack along with John Abbott, 41 of EJ O'Rourke. So 3 cars in front that have not pitted yet, and yeah, they got 10 more laps, but is it that much of a short pit? A 20-lap short pit, or maybe a 10-lap short pit from the guys up front? That's almost unthinkable.
Right, and again, a lot of this strategy, and I think even the guys who we consider to be on the regular strategy of pitting at lap 40 and trying to make it on 2 stops, is all of a risk when you consider the fact that, that all banks on if this race stays green. The gamble from these guys could be, you look at Tim Matthews leading, started 9th. Abbott, who was in 2nd, started 14th. EJ O'Rourke, who started in 10th, is 3rd at the moment. So all these guys haven't come from way back in the pack. It's not like it's people, in a position like Alan Roll in the Double-O, who's yet to come down pit road, but he's gone from 24th to 8th. The guys up front are not in a position, I think at least, Coop, where they'd be doing this to hopefully grab a yellow at this point and kind of like a gotcha moment, then get on pit road with everybody else, gain a lot of spots. I don't think that a 14th or a 10th place spot on the grid is far enough back to make you kind of throw all your cards on the table and go all in a position like this. So I think that these guys quite clearly now 8 laps away from the halfway point in this race, trying to make it on a one-stop strategy. You don't have a lot of them left. Tim Matthews, EJ O'Rourke, the only guys 1-2 at the moment. Jeff Ward has already cycled his way up to 3rd, so while he may have been able to get around a couple of guys who have yet to pit, at this point, I don't think that strategy is going to play out for him. And even there, O'Rourke in P2, he's only 3 seconds ahead of Jeff Ward, so I think the 40-lap run may be the call to go with.
Yeah, it's going to be faster in the long run, like we talked about. It's also with the longer tire run, of course, it's going to be less stable, as we saw an uncharacteristic spin by Dwayne Vincent, and furthermore, the update on Dwayne, he did not come down pit road for tires. He's sticking to his guns and staying on the strategy of a long pit, because I'm sure he firmly believes that that's going to really help his position, especially since he has damage now. And he already knows what an ill-handling car feels like, so he's just going to keep staying out there. And right out of 4 or right into 3, you'd expect maybe to come in, but he's not going to do that. He's going to try and keep going. But I actually am under the belief that maybe these long pit guys are actually going to make. I think they're going to make it work. I'm actually the opposite position of. I feel like these guys who are long pitting, they haven't been caught yet, and they're about to pit for their first time, and then they're not going to have a pit again. Then these guys that need to pit twice are going to have to do their thing. I think it's actually going to work out for some of these guys.
We'll find out about 5 laps away from when these guys should be down pit road. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside and come back to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway as we close in on the halfway point in tonight's Las Vegas 120 and see what the call is. Tim Matthews and EJ O'Rourke, they have yet to pit. They're leading at this point in the number 1 and 2 spots so far through. You're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the 2016-2017 Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series, presented by Hippie's Paint Shop. Right back to Las Vegas in a moment.
It was more than impressive, I have to say. I mean, the track is identical to the real track. I was blown away how realistic it is. Every little bump, every little spray paint, everything is exactly like you're there at the track. It was a great experience. This is a warm-up lap now. Tires to get warmed up. The engine. Breathe a little bit here when you go through that little bump there. And then it's flat pretty much all the way through here, just about. On braking, this is the slowest part of the track. And then I've done, I did many races in Formula 3, Formula 2, and then I did the very last race they did there in Group C in 1983 in the 956 Porsche. That's when Beloff got the lap record at the 6:11. I think I was second on the grid with the 6:14 or something. which was, I mean, those cars were awesome around there, of course, like any car is, you know, that speed. And this is the corner of all corners here, the Schwedenkreuz. Flat all the way into it. And then trail brake all the way into the apex here. And then hard at it again to get good speed down the hill here. Mega fast down this hill here. Just jump from one apex to the next. Gotta be super precise here. I mean, it's almost exactly like the real thing. So, I mean, it is certainly realistic enough to get past the very, you know, a lot of the initial hurdles you have when you try to learn to drive a race car, you know. So, I mean, I think it's an excellent tool to learn how to race for sure, or learn to drive a car on a racetrack.
Welcome back live to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The next time by will be halfway in tonight's Las Vegas 20. Tonight's coverage of the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series brought to you, as always, by Hippie's Paint Shop. Hippie's Paint Shop has over 5 years of providing top-quality custom paint schemes for all iRacing vehicles at a low price, because after all, at Hippie's Paint Shop, the cost isn't high, it's just the painter. We stepped aside, a lot's gone on up at the front of the field. Jeff Ward, who is one of the drivers who has already pitted at the 1/3 marker in this race, has taken over the race lead. It has dropped EJ O'Rourke to second, and as well, Tim Matthews, the other driver we were talking about, is down pit road right now. Somebody way out into the grass, though, on the front straightaway. Douglas Wyatt for a big slide at a quarter number 4. He hangs on and no caution, and that's crucial because this pit strategy heavily relies on if we get a yellow or not. So we expect EJ O'Rourke to be in the next time, or if not soon. He's still out on track. You're going to get a second look at the incident with Douglas Wyatt there. But guys, continuing to debate if the 2-stop or the 1-stop call is the one to go with. Tim Matthews out short pitting EJ O'Rourke on that 1-stop call to come down to the pit lane. The 41 is yet to give it up.
Yeah, I'm surprised that these guys up front aren't going in, because they are basically halfway through the race, 120, and we're at lap 60. I see no reason why not to come down. I mean, they are literally losing time on the track now. The 41 needs to come down soon, or I don't know. It's just surprising when you can cut the race in half like they are. They got to come down sometime. I mean, they can't obviously make it to the end of the race without fuel. That's a given. But when you can effectively help yourself out by giving yourself tires, it's one of those deals where maybe you're hoping for a caution, but he's still in second too, and he may even pit with some of these guys towards the end of the race. So you got to think about that, and you also got to think about Comstock. He's right behind him too. He's obviously eating his lunch with time and everything, so he'll be in second in a couple laps just because of the fact that he's got new tires. And when you think about it, he's not losing that much time to the guys behind him by staying out. And for a guy that was sitting in 10th, we did talk about how difficult it is to pass, and if he can stay where he's at, it's not a bad idea.
We will see, because again, Matthews came down to the pit lane, so he's on this same call. He essentially pitted at halfway. O'Rourke is staying out. He is losing 2 seconds per lap to Tim Matthews, who's on the same strategy as him. So if he stays out 5 laps, he's going to be 10 seconds behind him. EJ's best lap on the night was a 30.832. It was on lap number 2. Last time by, a 32.82. So 2 seconds of fall off from the older tires here from Las Vegas. So he's going to eventually lose second again, expecting him to come down to the pit lane at some point.
Oh, Comstock's on the fence.
Comstock was coming up behind him with the damage, going to lose some time at a quarter number 2, and Jose Gonzalez going to come up the inside. Another driver who's on the 2-stop strategy now takes over third, and what should soon become second around O'Rourke, because again, Jeff Ward on the 2-stop call is 4 seconds in front of all of these guys. So the 9 is hoping and getting exactly what he wants to see if his 2-stop strategy is to work out, and that is no lap traffic, no cluster around him, just his opportunity to go out there and put down fast laps, lap after lap after lap. And if we stay green, he'll be down pit road at about 15 laps.
The only thing I could see from the 41 at EJ O'Rourke trying to get the leg up on the 54 Tim Matthews is him trying. They may have had to save fuel here this last few runs, this last run as he bypasses pit road again, but he may have had to save fuel, and now he's trying to make it to where whenever he does make his pit stop, he does not have to save fuel anymore, because he may have been a few laps short and had to clutch it the past couple of laps, but at some point, we saw this in the USR race on Saturday. The guy on new tires, he could catch him, but as soon as he did, it was time for pit stops, or in this case, it'll be time for the end of the race. So if the one-stop strategy is going to work, it's going to be Tim Matthews. Yeah, Tim Matthews was actually the one who pulled off the strategy, or one of the guys who pulled off the strategy there on Saturday night. But I think at some point you have to come down pit road. I think he's safe now on fuel. And one thing I want to talk about, we see the top 5, top 10 remain mostly unchanged. Brian Macklin, something must have happened on his pit stop, because he is running 17th, third to last car on the lead lap.
He's got some right side damage as well, so he might have caught the fence at a 2. We've seen a couple of people get friendly with that tonight. We are, though, past the halfway point in this Las Vegas 120, and while we await a couple of guys still to trickle down to the pit lane, we'll take this opportunity to take a look at your iRacing Midway race break before pit stops kick off once again. Presented, as always, in part by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, and more. At lap number 69 of 120 on the night, it is Jeff Ward in control, and he has already come down to the pit lane once. We expect him to do one more time before this race comes to a conclusion. Jose Gonzalez 5 seconds back in the number 2 position. Then you'll find EJ O'Rourke yet to pit, looking for a one-stop race in 3rd. Bobby Terrell behind in 4th. David Comstock in 5th. Those drivers have been in the pit lane once already, part of the 2-stop game. Mike Kelly behind. He's really one of the biggest, if not the biggest mover, up 12 spots into P6 at the moment. Chad Cole's behind him in 7th. And you've also got Scott Stenzel 8th, William Hale 9th, and as well, Scott Simley to round out your top 10.
Yeah, and then you got Michael Waters behind him, started 20th and now 11th. Doug Roth, also a huge mover from 25th to 12th. Justin Listenby in 13th. Eric Scherer in 14th. Steve Bevick, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, is in 15th. Brian Macklin, like you said, just got 16th, and so he gets a spot from Jeff Faviano, who's in 17th, getting real close to getting a lap down as well. And then first car lap down in 18th, that's going to be David Batone. And then Tim Matthews, we just talked about him trying the one-stop strategy at this point, 1 lap down, 19th. And then Bobby Wetzel from 15th to 20th. It's kind of made up a little bit of ground since we talked about him last, but still, he was real high up in the chart, and now he's back down.
21st on the racetrack right now is the 13th. Dwayne Vincent saw him take a ride from the lead there a few laps ago. 35 of Gerald Campbell in 22nd. Scott Brotherton is in the 3 car in the 23rd spot, 1 lap down. 24th, Eric Arnold in the 31 machine. AJ Brown in 20 20 machine in 25th. 26th, Jeremy Bazemore. Jeffrey Ford, Alan Roll in 00 in 28th. 29th is Joe Hudson. And John Abbott, we saw him disconnect a few laps ago in 30th.
The rest of these guys limping around. 31st and 7 laps down is Brendan Mercer. Douglas Wyatt onto the pit lane. We saw he had obviously the contact in 2 and also the slot on the front stretch. He's 32nd. And then Josh Chaney 33rd, Mike Franklin 34th. Both of those cars are behind the wall. That's a look top to bottom at your iRacing Midway race break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com and sign up today. You could also use the LSRTV promo code by entering PR-2016 LSRTV when you register for a new iRacing membership to get the late model free of charge. It'll go nice with the 13 cars and 14 tracks that are also included, courtesy of iRacing, free with a first-time subscription. Again, that is PR-2016 LSRTV, and that is valid on new iRacing memberships only. I don't expect this to be the case, guys, but EJ O'Rourke is yet to pit. He's gone 74 laps so far. If he can go 80 laps, in theory, somebody who pitted for what we expect to be the 2-stop call at lap 40. We expect them to be down at about 5 laps or so at the 2/3 marker in this race. In theory, if EJ O'Rourke can go to lap 80, those guys could make it to the end from lap 40. So there might be a little bit more in this strategy than what meets the eye right now.
I almost think of back in the old NASCAR 2004 days when you could actually go 120 laps on a fuel tank, and I was just thinking about that. Maybe he could Ironman it. Maybe if he saves enough fuel, but I really doubt it. But with the way he's driving, the fact that he didn't actually pit at lap 60, and he's still going at lap 76 without coming to pit, and he's still being he's not being competitive, but he's at least still standing his ground out there on the track. I have no doubt that this has really been a great strategy for him. Staying out front in general has been really helpful in case a caution comes out. I mean, it's not ever a bad plan to stay out because you could get lucky in that point, as you're seeing Mike Kelly really start to go on the back bumper of him, and that's another guy who's been really reeling these guys in. Mike Kelly's also one of those guys who can just really reel these guys in. He's so quick. That number 2 car, Mike Kelly, he just it's hard to say like what it is about the number 2 car, but he always kind of starts from the back and goes to the front. I think we've interviewed him a time or two, but that number 2 car can really go to the front when it really matters. As you're seeing that 41 of O'Rourke, he's going to get passed by another guy that appears to be the 00 of Alan Roll, who's 2 laps down, but still continues to have a top 10 or top 5 position at this point, but only 5th at this point.
15 cars on the lead lap at this moment at lap number 77. The last driver on the lead lap is the 27 Jeff Faviano. Last lap, 29 seconds behind your race leader. That means he is just barely in front of Jeff Ward. Final trip down to the pit lane, though, is due up just shy of the 2/3 marker in this race. Chad Cole over the radio. Remember the drama the last time he was down to the pit lane. This time he gets down a little bit wide on that white line again, but he does get down to the pit lane. EJ O'Rourke is in as well, so is Mike Kelly. So the second cycle of pit stops opens up.
Yeah, we're seeing a bunch of guys. Looks like Bobby Terrell, the 41, the 8 of Chad Cole, the 41 of O'Rourke actually is now coming down this time by. We actually got confirmation that he pitted a little earlier in the race, but I'm just kind of surprised that he's still up there. So just want to make the confirmation that he did pit at lap 30 without a caution, of course. So still doing really good dividends for that team to be able to make it that far. I mean, from lap 30 to lap 80, that's 50 laps on these tires. Maybe he tried to short pit and realized that it wasn't going to work out that way. So he is doing double duty on those tires and trying to make it work out. So he'll be having a good plan here. So we still have those 2 strategies with the 54 of Tim Matthews as well. So then you also have Chad Cole going out with those guys. So there's still those two strategies that we got to think about. And the more we think about it, maybe Tim Matthews doesn't have the winning strategy at this point. But still, I think we'll have to see how it plays out. We're going to see a lot of guys still go back and forth, and you're going to see a lot of lap cars for a little bit, and a lot of cars unlap themselves with the leaders as it goes forward. And I do believe it will be David Comstock in the lead right now, or Jeff Ward right now. But David Comstock didn't lead another lap.
Comstock was able to get to the point as that cycled through, but I think now he is going to end up, on track at least, behind Jeff Ward. But again, everybody has to come down and get 4 more tires, get in and out, and get done for the final time. And Tim Matthews, the driver on that very clear one-stop strategy compared to an EJ O'Rourke, who, technically is on the 2-stop strategy, did short pit those guys on the first one, only with a 30-lap opening run, but then did decide to go all the way through 40 laps like everybody else on this second stint. He didn't continue with the short pit, or he would have been in about 10 laps to go. So mixing it up, trying to get something here and there. Nonetheless, Tim Matthews has ended up in 3rd position. And again, we don't expect the 54 to be back down pit road. He's in 3rd at the moment. So even that being said, it might cycle him through to the race lead. Brian Backlund's 03 Toyota has assumed the race lead as David Comstock comes down to the pit lane and gets service. We await Macklin to be down for a second time for scheduled service. Jeff Ward is the driver leading the charge of guys who have gotten their service completed on the night, and he was about 7 seconds behind Tim Matthews last time at the start-finish line. Scoring going to cycle through this time by the deficit going to be right there again, about 6.5 seconds off. So the battle right now for second is probably going to be the battle for the race lead, as Brian Macklin in that 03 machine yet to come down.
That 54, Tim Matthews is going to catch him coming out of turn number 4. He's going to pull to within about 1 second of the 03 of Brian Macklin. But that's still that little bit of damage he caught a few laps ago during this exchange of pit stops. He's running up front, but he's going to lose a lot of time by coming down to pit road this time, or whenever he does come. Hopefully, maybe this time by. But we got a battle for the lead as he's going to pull high and let the 54 Tim Matthews through that Kentucky Wildcats car there on the bottom side of the racetrack. he's going to move into the lead for the second time tonight here in turn number 3 on lap number 85. And that's the one person you have to watch between him and the 9 of Jeff Ward. About a 5-second gap, 5.9 last time by between those two drivers. So it's going to get close here. We got closing in on 30 laps to go here, Evan. It's going to be close, but I think Jeff Ward's going to pull it off.
Realistically speaking, you look at how much time's left. There's going to be 35 laps to go the next time by. Jeff Ward is on a mission. He's made up about 3 seconds the last 4 laps or so. So if he continues at this pace, he's going to get to him no problem. I don't even think it's going to be close enough to the point where you talk about, catching somebody's one thing, making a move is another. I think at this moment, the 9 substantially better than the 54 up in that number 1 position. So we'll see if he's able to catch up to him and complete that pass. It is fair to say that Jeff Ward's tire advantage every single time around the racetrack is going to get less and less and less, but at 9/10 faster the last time by, I don't think it'll be much of a roadblock for him.
Oh, not at all. And you got to think about how long ago he pitted, Tim Matthews did, and that was almost, like we just talked about, almost about 20 laps ago. So he's got 20-lap tires almost, I'd say 16, 17 tires lap tires this time by, and then Ward only has under about 6 or 7. So that's quite the deficit on tires as well as heat. Oh, so eats that time a second that time by. So only a matter of laps, and like you said, I don't even think it's going to be a matter of getting to him and then passing him. It's just going to be about getting to him. That's going to be the big thing, and also worrying about that lap traffic. You can't forget the mission. The car in front of you is the mission, but you can't forget about everyone else too. That does come to mind. The occasion of the guy in second really hunting down, knows he has the chance and probably will have a really good chance of getting that guy here in the next few laps. If he gets 9 more tenths off that lap, but can't forget about those lap cars. And the leader, Tim Matthews, he's gonna get past here soon, but he's still doing a good strategy for himself, keeping himself up there. And if a caution comes out, we haven't seen one all day. If he gets that caution, he will be able to pit again, have fresh tires, and be up towards the front. As he started 9th, and so second place right now. Jeff Ward makes the pass and will be the leader this time by. Not a bad decision for that number 54.
Yeah, made quick work of him, really ran him down the last time down the Nellis straightaway, made it side by side, and Jeff Ward back to the point at lap number 89 from Las Vegas. 31 laps to go the next time by. And again, if Matthews doesn't fall below 9th position, as you noted, where he started, you could say that the strategy was a winning one. 5th best in practice. And again, it's not like the 54 was somebody who didn't have speed tonight, so I guess there's an opportunity lost that you have to think of, what if I went with the strategy, especially on a very long run like this, Cade, because we were talking about how we saw Tim do this very thing just 2 nights ago here on LSRTV. No caution flag, green start to finish, very good on the long run. You always have to wonder what could have been if the 54 was on the same call. I think at least Jose Gonzalez is going to get to him. Jose is about 3.5 seconds off of Jeff Ward, only a couple of seconds out the back of the 54. But then you look at names like AJ Brownie, Bobby Terrell, Mike Kelly, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Those guys are over 10 seconds back. So Matthews might stand a fair shot of staying in front of those guys by the time this one rounds through.
Yeah, it's a 4-second gap back to the 26 of Jose Gonzalez, and then it's a full 6 seconds back to the 14 of Bobby Terrell. So he's got a lot of time to lose here in the next 30 laps. So he's got a good chance at coming away from here with a top 5, but you've got to think about it. It's 9.6 back to the leader, and then it's just a train of cars back outside the top 10. So once one reaches him, it's going to be pretty much a railroad around that number 54 machine on those old tires. So he's got to hope to stay in front of at least one of those cars. I was going to say the 26 of Jose Gonzalez, he's really the only threat to the 9 of Jeff Ward. But last lap it was 3.7 seconds the gap, now 4.1 the gap between the 2 leaders, or the 2 leaders on newer tires, I should say. That 26 is going to look to go around he was going to make it, but the 75 there on the bottom side of the racetrack. Now he's going to push that 54 high, coming out of turn number 4, the 26 of Jose Gonzalez, the meatball machine, is going to move into that second spot.
I'm not sure why, but I find the 75 hilarious. He's been in all these situations. Joe Hudson started 29th. He's running in 29th at the moment. But it feels like every single time we've had a battle for a position inside the top 5, for whatever reason, the 75 is always there for some reason in the shot. Yeah, so he's 4 laps down, he's out of the way. He stands to maybe gain a couple of positions if some guys in front of him drop out of this race, but there's nobody on the same lap as him at the moment. But I think it's kind of funny, the 75, equal speed to your race leaders, has kind of been racing around these guys for the better part of it. So Jose Gonzalez has been able to get the P2, but again, Tim Matthews continues to slide, and Macklin now just officially brings his car behind the wall. So +1 for Mr. Joe Hudson, picks up to P28. So does give you a little bit of a benefit for those guys who want to stick around, knock out all the laps. You can get a couple of points here and there. So really all we wait now is to see how far Tim Matthews falls down the ladder. 4 seconds in front of Terrell, and then when you get to Terrell, then you got Bobby Terrell, Mike Kelly, Chad Cole, EJ O'Rourke, AJ Brown, and William Hale. Everybody through 11th with Comstock and Simley all within 3 seconds. So if Matthews gets caught by those guys, and looking at the numbers, still with 25 to go, it looks like he will. He might end up outside of the top 10 before this thing is said and done. But outside of watching the 54 slide because of the old tires, I don't think anything else is going to happen up front. Jeff Ward, 4.7 seconds in front of Jose Gonzalez right now in the battle for the race lead.
He's only making that lead bigger every lap. It's pretty spectacular what that 9's doing. And we talked briefly how it seemed like he had a really dominant car. And even when he was getting passed by some of these guys who were mid to high pack. He was getting passed and getting challenged, and never felt like he was able to get his chance at free, fresh air. But at this point, the 9 does, and you can see what he's been able to do with it. That short pitting has really allowed him to do that. And then, of course, the pit road mishaps that the 40 has is this time by the 40 is going to take the spot away from the 62 of William Hale quite easily. But even though, we talked about it briefly, that the 40 had damage, but that did more than affect the actual car. That does affect the driver as well. The fact that he's going to, he had that hit, and he possibly may have been distracted after that and thought about the car. And it does more than actual damage on the race car. So just damage. It's not just a little bit of damage when you have an incident like that. And Chad Cole is actually still in front of him. So he was just sitting duck and he got hit. So real bad day for him, turned into a really good day for Jeff Ward, because everything that happened on pit road, everything that transpired there has really just helped that number 9 car.
I think looking at the damage with David Comstock, 20 laps removed from his trip down to the pit lane, running a 31.8. 20 laps into the race earlier, he was at a 32.4. So you look at those numbers, and it's hard to say, and he's in the fence again with the 40, that time, but a turn number 2. That's going to give the run back to William Hale, and he'll shut the door. So the 40, David Comstock, not having any of that. No, and I was going to say that based on those lap numbers, as we now watch this battle for 8, it's hard to definitively say that the reason the 40 is dropped back is solely because of the damage, but when they cycled through pit stops for the first time after Comstock got hit on pit road by Chad Cole, David Comstock was the race-leading car out of pit road. He got passed by Jeff Ward. Since that point, Jeff Ward, who is 7 spots in front of him at a racetrack in a number 1 spot, has outran the 40 of David Comstock by 14.5 seconds. I don't think there is any coincidence in that. I do think that the damage is what's been hurting the 40 machine. Comstock still having some fun back here, though, if you want to call it that. Hale takes away P8 from him, drops him to 9th, and he's got Scott Stimley right out the back end as well, battling in P10 in contact in 1 and 2. Boy. David Comstock puts the bumper to the 62. They're
going to be fighting for that top 10 position there with the 62, the 40, and the 68. The 40 of Comstock is going to get passed by the 68 Assembly. They go into turn number 3. A little update on the other driver that was involved in that pit road entry incident, Chad Cole. He's recovered very well to move up into that top 5 position. He's under fire from the 41 of EJ O'Rourke. EJ pitted on lap 30 and then pitted around lap 80, so he's got a little bit fresher tire, or he's got older tires than the rest of the field, so he's done very well so far to try and get back up front, and he's going to try and take that top 5 position away from the 8 of Chad Cole as they go into turn number 3. But that battle still brewing between the 68 and the 62. He's caught that 62 of William Hale as they come out of turn number 4. He's to the back bumper, and you know that 62 has got to be fuming from that number 40, that contact he had a few times with David Comstock in that Monster Energy machine. As they go into turn number 1, they're going to get past a few lap cars. Comstock in the background still running that top side of the racetrack, trying to make it work. But it's just not going to happen as they run up on the 54 of Tim Matthews. Everybody going to pick up one position, and looks like now that strategy has failed. The 54 of Tim Matthews, he's going to lose 3 positions in one corner as they come out of turn number 4, and even going to get passed by the lap car, the 29 of Brendan Mercer. We saw him in trouble earlier in the race. As they come stripe this time, William Hill pulling it out just a little bit in front of the 68 Assembly here on lap number 103.
I think it's a good thing there might be a car between him and the 40 at this point, with as aggressive that they were with each other there, guys.
I don't necessarily want to say that David Comstock's mad at the world, but I think you can see based on how he's driving that he's not happy, at least to say, because he had a car that could win this race. And again, you could argue that, the damage isn't single-handedly what did him in, and I think it's a little bit more annoying when you get tangled up with somebody and the guy who gets into you finishes higher than you. But again, after that contact, Jeff Ward has outrun David Comstock by 15.8 seconds, who's in that number 9 position at the moment. Inside of 20 laps to go from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, basically just waiting for this one to come to a close. 5.5 seconds, Jeff Ward to the good. We have not seen a caution flag since Thursday here on LSRTV. We had clean and green all the way on Saturday night, and so far through 105 laps tonight at Las Vegas, still without a caution. Everybody but Jeff Ward hopes that streak gets broken here in the next 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a pretty significant deal for us here at LSRTV. The fact that if we go this race, I think that'll be the first time ever that we've been able to do that. I hope we don't jinx it like we jinxed the 40, of course. But looking at that 4, look at that 9, and look at the 26. They're driving basically the same. The only driver in the top 5 that's not driving the same as these guys is the 41 and the 8, as they're still battling basically. Everyone, the 40, the 14 and the 2 of Bobby Terrell and Mike Kelly. The 2 in front, they're kind of chilling out. They're just waiting for that race to end and starting to cycle, starting to continue to cycle. But it looks like Mike Kelly's still on the hunt for another position. He's gone from 18th to 4th. He's trying to hunt down Bobby Terrell before the rest of this is over. Almost under 10 laps to go, or almost 10 laps to go, and he's been chopping this guy down. Like, he's taking the lap times, and he's been almost beating them. That time around, he lost about a 10th, but you can see how he closes the gap between turn 1 and 2, and it looks like he's got a faster car at this point. He's just got to make the execution, of course, too. With about 15 laps, it looks like he'll catch him in the next 3. I don't know if he'll be able to make the execution for that podium spot.
We will see if it's going to get tight, and as well, Terrell's got Kelly right off of the back end, and Mike Kelly, somebody who I noted when he was up at about 8th or so position, that he was one of the bigger movers tonight. Do want to give a call to Scott Simley. I don't think it's any surprise that he's picked up a lot. He came into tonight as your championship leader. Again, he has yet to have a race where he has finished outside of the top 10 through the opening 3 races, although he doesn't have a win. He's got an average finish of a P6, 1 top 5, 3 top 10s. Started in 21st position, did not put down a single lap in practice, but made it in time. He's passed 13 cars and runs in 8th at the moment. Back about 15 seconds off, side by side with a couple of cars right now, however, not for position. But that is bested by only Mike Kelly, who is up 14 positions. So a huge shout out to that number 2 Chevrolet, who has kind of gone under the radar so far, and at the moment, your biggest mover.
Yeah, one more driver I want to talk about is the 23 Eric Shear. He's the final car on the lead lap. He started 34th. He was one of those drivers who did not take a time, and he started way behind the rest of the field. I believe he took a little bit of time to get off the grid, but he's running in 14th, 30 seconds back, so he's done a very good job in 120 laps to get inside the top 15, and I think he's going to get caught by the 9 of Jeff Ward here in the next few laps, but still a very commendable job by that 23.
You're not going to miss Jeff Ward coming up in the rearview mirror. It is a bright green machine on the racetrack here tonight. He has balanced out his distance between he and Jose Gonzalez at that 5.5 second marker. That time by 110 laps complete, 10 laps to go in tonight's Las Vegas 120. Gonzalez still holding about 4 seconds to the good over Bobby Terrell. If those intervals remain the same, I think that Jose is going to be able to hang on to that P2. Mike Kelly may be the only person who has a shot at going after that number 3 spot. How about a three-way battle, though, for 7th? Scott Simley, William Hale, David Comstock. These guys still not giving up on each other. 2:10 separated them the last time by the start-finish line.
Look at Comstock right back to the back bumper of him again. And Scott Simley easily got around the 62. The 62 looks like he's losing some speed. Maybe have driven the tires out of that thing. I'm watching the 40 and the 62. I don't want to see them get tangled. Oh my gosh, what a chop off the nose of the 40 right there. That 62 is really counting his chances. I think at this point, it looks like the 40 and the 68, or the 68 got him by pretty quickly, and the 40 car is right back on his bumper. He was he was back about a second a few laps ago. So the 62's really got to be hoping that he can hang on to this spot, as 40 really wants to get by him.
Yeah, and if you're the 62, there's a party that might, just want to think, okay, just let him go. But at this point, I think William Hale wants to, get the position that he's got. And I think that Scott Simley has no problem if those guys want to fight, because if the 68 doesn't have to be a part of it, he's going to be able to run away, maintain P7. Again, as we noted, one of the bigger movers now up 14, just like Mike Kelly, his biggest movers inside the top 10. Again, the only person who's got overall more is Eric Scherer, as Gabe noted, who's up 20 overall. Last on the lead lap. He's about to lose, though, that lead lap status. So is Doug Roth. Roth is just in front of Scherer for the number 13 position on track, so it looks like this race fixing to end up with about 12 cars left on the lead lap, and for 180 miles uninterrupted, that's a pretty good number.
That's a great number in what, maybe about 400 miles here on LSRTV without a caution. That's got to be some sort of record here on LSRTV. But one thing I want to talk about is Tim Matthews. He's in 12th. If it's any showing of how bad a strategy has failed you, he is in danger of going a lap down by the end of this race. He's 26 seconds back from the leaders here, only 4 seconds in front of Eric Scherer in that number 23 machine, who's just about to go a lap down. Yes, he's just about to go a lap down. I was looking for the leaders there, but yeah, they're coming to 5 to go here next time by, Evan. And Tim Matthews, he's got to be looking in, he's got to ride this down for any kind of lead that he's racing here at Vegas next time. One-stop strategy may not be the way to go.
Sometimes when these races go green all the way, your strategy call works, and sometimes it doesn't. How about side-by-side for 13th on track? Doug Roth on the outside, the number 23 to the bottom. These guys are not helping themselves if they had any hopes of staying on at the lead lap, because as they go door to door, not only is Jeff Ward coming up, but there's that 75 of Joe Hudson right in the thick of things again as well, running in the number 27 position. So these guys are going to eventually fall off of the lead lap, but in the meantime, that 23 is able to pick up a spot and drop Doug Roth back to 14th.
Yeah, and you would think, it's really late in the race, why are you fighting so hard? But it could mean the difference between making it into the all-important chase at the end of the season here. So, and Doug Roth has made championships in the RSR past. So that does sit with you as a driver. I know it's only for 13th place, but and it doesn't really matter whether they're on the lead lap. They're still going to finish the same spot, but because a caution would effectively end the race, as we're coming to only a few laps to go. It's going to be 3 this time by. These guys are trying, and I'm sure Doug Roth is going to try his hardest to get that one more position back, just because it's really that essential. Each position really matters. Even though some guys will tell you that finish higher, well, if it's for 14th place, I don't really care. But points do effectively matter.
We are at that point of no return, though, where if you were hoping to get a yellow, your luck is about run out. Popsicle stick to the air this time. 2 laps to go for Jeff Ward up front. And the slight chance we see a yellow, it would end the race at that moment regardless of the 9 in the home stretch.
They're at 2 to go this time by. Coming out of turn number 2, it's smooth sailing for the 9 to Jeff Ward. Jose Gonzalez 5.4 seconds back. He's been catching him the past few laps, Evan, but it's just not going to happen. He's going to run out of time because they're coming to the white flag this time.
1.5 miles to go for Jeff Ward. Started this race in 2nd position, and it's definitely not where he wanted to finish it, because 1 week ago, as he sets off onto the lead lap in the final lap of this race. He had to deal with a second-place finish after leading 70 laps from the Texas Motor Speedway. Dwayne Vincent beat him out by 0.4 of a second at the end to take home the checkered flag tonight. He would not be denied. Maybe just a little bit of luck played into his hands, but Jeff Ward going to bring the number 9 Chevrolet off of quarter number 4 for the final time tonight. It'll be the first win on the season for Jeff Ward. Checkered flag, your winner from Las Vegas.
Yeah, and look like the battle for third. It's only going to be, looks like Bobby Terrell. He is going to hang on to that third position. Mike Kelly was coming, but I think he ate his tires out too much. Jeff Ward, of course, wins that race, and maybe it was deserved last week, but it definitely was earned this week, as he had to really push himself harder, I think, this week than he did last week.
Gonzalez slides into the middle of those guys in the number 2 position. It's a Ward, Gonzalez, and Terrell podium tonight from Las Vegas as the 2016 side of this RSR Icebreaker Winter Series presented by Hippie's Paint Shop campaign draws to a close. Jeff Ward gets the win, and even a Chad Cole can be included in the conversation, who comes home P6 with David Comstock, who gets 11th when it's all said and done. Thinking of what could have been if the contact wasn't made on the side of the pit stops. Jeff Ward, though, he comes out on top tonight, and he's got some celebrating to do on the front straightaway here in Las Vegas. We'll take this opportunity, step aside one final time. We'll be right back to America's Racing Showplace on the other side. We'll talk to your top finishers and get you set for the next race on the calendar, which comes up in the next calendar year on January the 2nd from, I believe, Michigan International Speedway. You're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the 2016-2017 RSR Icebreaker Winter Series. Tonight from Las Vegas, Jeff Ward, your winner. We'll come back to Victory Lane.
So obviously you guys have come from the virtual world to reality. What do you think about a sim racer coming in the real world? What were your expectations coming in?
Coming from iRacing, a computer program basically down here to a real world scenario where you got all these guys with all these years and years and years and years of experience that are also using iRacing as a tool to come out and run against those guys and beat them and finish ahead of them and show them, there's a thing or two you might be missing is fantastic. I mean, that's a skill that I know I don't have, and I can appreciate it because I'm terrible at iRacing.
Glenn was able to come into the team. We did a lot of preseason testing, actually a full season's worth of testing before we even started the season. And he came in, there was a lot of sectors that he was the fastest guy out of our team. And Sparky and I looking at data, trying to catch up to him through some turns. And of course, some places Sparky will be the fastest or I'll be the fastest, and Glenn is able to learn from, what we're doing and vice versa. So it was excellent to see his pace right off of the bat, and speed was never a worry. It's about qualifying well. Qualifying is very difficult, and pretty important in this series. And so is, being able to make effective passes without contact. It's very difficult to pass in these cars, so, it's not easy being here.
I think the level of ultra competitiveness in here, where when normally when you make a pass, you're making a pass with 2 cars involved. But if we're making a pass in this series, you have to remember there's 5 cars waiting behind you. If you mess up that pass, they're going by you.
Yeah, it's like sharks.
Yeah, you're surrounded by sharks. But no, it's been I've been very surprised and very pleased with it. And obviously I have the 2 champions I'm sitting between. John actually statistically is the most successful MX-5 Cup driver in the world. He owns every record that you would want, none of the bad records.
Maybe some of them, I don't know.
Maybe some of those. And Sparky's one of the quickest guys in the paddock, and obviously the champion now. So I couldn't have picked a better team to be with 6 Sideways. I'm looking at what everybody in the paddock calls gold. I mean, they will pay to look at John and Sparky's data, and I get full access to it. And I get to see where I'm doing well and see where I can improve. And I've been really pleased with my progress.
So cool, yeah. Nate, what are you working on at the moment?
So I'm working on the animation for the game. We're working on getting pit crews fully developed, and that involves a lot of moving parts. So I'm going in and making sure that each moving part can dovetail smoothly into the next one, so that when you pull in for a pit stop, it looks like the real thing, as opposed to a bunch of jumbled pieces that suddenly stop and then go and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so cool, but why aren't you working on the time model? Nothing?
Back live from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Jeff Ford, your winner tonight in the RSR Las Vegas 120. Tonight's coverage of the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series brought to you, as always, in part by Hippie's Paint Shop. Hippie's Paint Shop has over 5 years of providing top-quality custom paint schemes for all iRacing vehicles at a low price. Because after all, at Hippie's Paint Shop, the cost isn't high, it's just the painter. We'll go trackside, talk with the race winner in just a moment. First, we take a look at tonight's LSRTV full race results for round number 4, beginning with a look at the top 10. Jeff Ford, Jose Gonzalez, Bobby Terrell, your podium tonight. We'll be trackside with them in just a moment. Mike Kelly snags a P4, and EJ O'Rourke rounds out after his short pit early on, ends up inside of the top 5. Chad Cole, after contact on the pit lane, is able to recover for a 6th place tonight. Scott Simley, big gains of 14 positions to come home in 7th. William Hale comes home behind him at 8th spot. Scott Stenzel slides in for a P9, and Michael Waters rounds out your top 10.
Yeah, and David Comstock, not too happy. Still not a bad day. He comes home 11th, but he lost 10 spots, effectively had a top 5, probably a podium finish. So finishes 11th with Tim Matthews right behind him. Kind of got suckered into that second strategy of trying to have one stop. And then Eric Scher at 13th. Doug Roth stays on the lead lap, just barely in 14th with Steve Bavak in 15th, one lap down. Steve Brotherton, 16th. Justin Listenby, 17th. Dwayne Vincent hit the wall hard. We saw that and tried to make it work out. Didn't. 18th, one lap down. Jeff Faviano, 19th, and Eric Arnold in 20th.
First car outside the top 20 is the 17 of Bobby Wetzel. The 66 of David Batone in the 22nd position. Gerald Campbell in 23rd. 2 laps down, then 24, Jeffrey Ford. The 00 Alan Roll in the 25th spot. Jeremy Bazemore in 26th. Joe Hudson, we saw him up front all night. He was in front of all the leaders there, racing up and amongst the top 10 drivers. Unfortunately, comes home in the 27th position, 3 laps down. AJ Browning in 20th. He started 11th, comes home in 28th. John Abbott in 29th. And Brennan Mercer, we saw him out of the race early in 30th, but ended up coming back to run a few laps later.
Round out the field tonight, again, you continue with the guys who are 30-plus laps down and who ended up on the hook before it was all said and done. Brian Macklin, 31st. Douglas Wyatt, 32nd. Josh Cheney, 33rd. 34th for Mike Franklin. And a DNS, despite taking a time at practice tonight, for Michael Priester. That's a look top to bottom at tonight's LSRTV full race results from Las Vegas. Your winner when it's all said and done, though, is Mr. Jeff Ford. Breaks into victory lane, and after settling for a P2 1 week ago, he was able to get that one extra spot tonight. Picks up the first checkered flag on the year for that number 9 team. We're trackside now with your race winner. Jeff, congratulations to you guys. This one without a caution all race long, which meant that strategy was at the forefront, and we really only saw maybe 2 or 3 cars go rogue based on what everybody else was doing, which was the 2-tire call, or rather the 2-stop call, splitting this race into thirds, and it seemed to work out very nice for you guys. A comfy 5-second gap when it was all said and done. Is this a race, though, that you guys really came into prepared for it to go green nonstop?
Yeah, Evan, feels great to get a victory. Last week kind of left a sour taste in my mouth after getting that, that late race caution, but it feels good. With the mile-and-a-half program's been a little better for us, especially the last couple races. I don't know what it is. We just was able to find a little bit of speed, especially on long runs there. So I was kind of glad that it went caution-free because they kind of played in our hand. And it was a good battle there. I know Chad was really fast. David had a great car. And I seen Chad and David get together there on pit lane, and I think it gave both of those guys some damage and kind of took them out of contention. So that was kind of a break for us. I think it would come down to a 3-man race. But, we hit our marks on pit road. It went caution-free and was able to have just a solid race tonight.
I was going to say, hey, you look at the stats for you guys, not that good coming into tonight with an average finish of a 25.7. Had you guys 24th in the points into tonight. So, kind of with that being said, I know that you are not going to object to being the beneficiary of any good luck. You pick up 13 positions in the points because of tonight's finish, jump all the way up to 11th overall. But early on in this race, even before we got down to that trip for the first time to the pit lane, you were talking about that battle with you, David, and Chad. Do you think that if this race went green and played out without that contact, that you guys would have still been able to execute and get the job done?
I think it would have, like I said, come down to us three. I know Chad was a little bit better than me on the long runs. That first run there, he was able to get by me and start running down David. And David was just, fast all night until he got that damage. I think it would have been a battle. Our car was pretty good on long runs, though, so who knows what would have happened there.
You guys get to enjoy this win through the off week and through the holiday break that we got coming up till we come back on the 2nd of January, I believe, the next time we'll be on track. For you guys, though, obviously starting off a season not as strong as you would like is not normally something that completely puts the nail in your coffin, but it doesn't make things easy for you, despite the fact that, as I noted, you guys get a big boost tonight in the points. You're still 44 points off of the top spot. So, with 6 races to go in this, now getting this win and being able to kind of take the pressure off of you and knocking that win out, I know it has to feel good. Moving forward now, almost as if you guys get to breathe some fresh life into you guys in this championship, I know has to be critically important.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure's off now. We got the win. We're locked in with Dwayne, and expect him to be a serious contender. And I got some things to work on. I got to quit sliding through pit stops like we did last week. Cost us a race, and so now I can really focus on some of these mistakes that need to be corrected. So we'll take the pressure off and go into these next 6 races and just have fun.
We'll let you take off, Jeff. Before we do, as always, the sponsors, the shout-outs. Who makes it happen for you guys and powered you to this win?
I'd like to thank the guys at Kentuckiana Motorsports, friends and family, you guys for doing the broadcast, and RSR for having these awesome leagues.
Your race winner tonight, Jeff Ford. Jeff, again, congratulations. Enjoy the holiday off break, and we will see you guys back in January.
All right, thanks, guys.
The driver who comes home second tonight does so at a disadvantage of 5 seconds. It was a great night, though, overall for Jose Gonzalez. Started 8th and drove his way up to P2 over the course of 120 uninterrupted green flag laps. And trackside with your second-place finisher is Austin Coop.
Yeah, I've caught up with the 26 meatball machine of Jose Gonzalez. That Chevrolet was really fast today, and you showed that you had a lot of power in the hood and that you were really good on those long runs. And quite frankly, you got exactly what you needed, it looked like. And we've talked about you in races past about how you are really good at doing that. You're 4th overall points, but with the wins of everybody else, that'll put you 8th, it looks like. So going forward, you had a great race today, and tell us how all the 120 laps went for you.
Yeah, it was a great race. I think I just survived by not being too aggressive on the track. The start, I started out like 8th or 9th, I don't remember, and I just gave up the spots, and anybody who snuck their nose, I just gave the spot. I never raced side by side, and I managed to save my tires. And by the end of the first run, all of a sudden I'm picking up spots, I'm passing people, and I'm just I wasn't racing that hard. So right there I figured out, just take it easy and go for the long run. And I put it on lap 40, and then I put it on lap 78, and I picked up like 2 seconds on Jeff for the lead. But I had damage in the right front. I hit the wall. I just grazed the wall a little bit, and 2 seconds wasn't enough. I was never gonna chase Jeff for that.
And now, looking forward, this is actually your best finish so far this season. Hopefully for you, this is only characteristics that are of future races for you. However, the momentum will have to stop because we won't race next week, and the next time we'll see you is on the 2nd of January on the new year. Talk about us, what you'll be doing over the break, whether you'll be practicing for Michigan or whether you'll be taking a little bit of more of a slouch. That would be what I would do. But it looks like you're doing pretty well right now in the points. But is there any in the sort of way off week training or off week practicing that you have scheduled or that you plan to do?
No, I live in Puerto Rico, and Christmas time in Puerto Rico, we don't. We just party. So I'm gonna party. I'm gonna have a good time, and when the second comes, I'll be back here and race a little bit. I got a little late today actually. I came like 5 minutes before the race because I was out. It's a culture thing.
Gotcha. Well, effectively, you're doing good things out there in the track, and every week it seems like you're improving, and this is obviously your best finish. So maybe when it comes to Michigan time, you've done your partying, and maybe that'll get you enough to go out there and get yourself a win out there. So congratulations, and do you want to give out any shout-outs or sponsors shout-outs there for you?
Oh, sure. I want to say hi to Chad Cole and Scott and Stencil. I want to thank them for nothing really.
Okay.
Oh, and I want to give it a shout out. I want to give a shout out to my friend Mirna Gonzalez. Today's is her birthday, so I want to say happy birthday to Mirna. She's the #1 fan of Jimmy Johnson.
All right, there you have it for your second place finisher of Jose Gonzalez. Thanks for giving us some of your time.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, Gabe, I'll throw it down to you pit road. I think you caught up with a pretty happy Bobby Torelli that moved up 3 spots today and effectively got himself to the 3rd place.
Well, he's happy because he finished on the podium, but I don't think he's too happy because he's had to drive almost 400 miles this week, caution-free without any brakes. Bobby, we talked to you Saturday night after coming home 3rd in the USR Series at Texas, and we talked to you again after 180 miles of green flag action here at Vegas. Congratulations, and now finally your hands can rest.
Yeah, thanks guys. Yeah, that was a hard-fought one too, just like Saturday night. I think I ran too hard on that first run and used up a little bit of my stuff, but the last 2 runs were good and was able to bring it into a podium. And I'm being honest with you, this feels like a victory to me. I'm not happy with getting 3rd, but it's a victory because, as you well know, I haven't finished the first 3 races at all, and none of it was my doing. It was always somebody else. So, like I said, this is like a victory to me.
Now, you had to be thinking Mike Kelly was running you down there toward the end of the race, but you end up pulling away from him there in the last couple laps toward the finish of the race. You had to be thinking, please, don't screw this up, Mike. Let's race clean to the finish.
Yeah, me and Mike, we've raced together so much, and me and him race each other clean. We're teammates together, so we were talking together the whole time, and I knew he was trying to run me down, but I was saving a little bit there at the end, so I kind of pulled away a little bit.
Now I got to ask, the 54 Tim Matthews was racing with you in that Truck Series race on Saturday and actually won it with a little bit of pit strategy there differing from one of the other leaders. He tried the same thing today, but the opposite strategy, trying to lessen 1 pit stop by making 1 there toward halfway, and it didn't pan out for him. Did you actually think, when you saw him move up front, did you think that he could have pulled it off?
No, not here. Vegas, the times fall off too quick. It's not possible here. I mean, you fall off, at least 2 seconds after, probably 30 laps. So I knew if they were going to try to go 30 more laps, they would probably end up losing a lap or a lap and a half at least.
All right, we asked Jose this just a few seconds ago. With this being the last RSR race here before Christmas and before New Year's, do you have any plans over the holidays?
No, just to spend time with my family. It's my son's in the Air Force in Germany, so I won't be with him. But I'm sure we'll FaceTime, Christmas Day. But just to spend time with my family.
All right, Bobby, congratulations on your third place finish. Go spend time with your family here over the holidays. But one more question, or one more statement here. You got some sponsors there on truck and got people that help, or car, excuse me. Still thinking back to Saturday, but you got sponsors and you got drivers like Mike Kelly that help you out. Do you want to thank them one more time?
Yeah, of course, Muscle Milk, my main sponsor, and I would like to thank my teammates, Scott and Mike, that helped me out, calling pits and stuff, and you guys up in the booth for everything y'all do, and of course RSR for putting this on. If it wasn't for them, we couldn't do this, and y'all.
That's Bobby Terrell in the 14 car here tonight. He comes home in third. Congratulations to you, Bobby, and I'm going to throw it back up to Evan for final thoughts.
I've got a number. I did some very rough math, and those who know me know that it is very rough math. But if it is correct, the last caution that we saw was on lap 55 of 120 quite some time ago, and that was on Thursday at Martinsville. So I believe they're at 125. So the number works out is we've gone green for the last 60 laps of Upstate's race on Thursday. We went green for all 167 laps on Saturday, and we went green for all 120 laps. So we have not had a caution on LSRTV in the last 347 laps of action, which, Gabe, I will agree with you, and I don't think that that's happened before. So I did want to point that out, that it has been quite some time since the yellows come out, and I'm not complaining, especially, Thursday night was a great night. We saw great racing to the end in that race at Martinsville, but the last 2 weeks, Saturday and then tonight as well, caution-free all race. It's been a little bit of time since we've seen that in any series, and to get two of them back-to-back is quite interesting because, as Gabe and I were talking about, Austin, it's kind of fun to watch the strategy develop tonight. Tonight it wasn't much of a nail-biter as it was compared to the weekend. I think the two-tire call tonight was pretty clear-cut, the one to go with, but nonetheless exciting stuff.
Yeah, and characteristically, the series at least has had at least 3 cautions on average. So hopefully throughout the week, the Pro Series has also kind of been around that range of average cautions, about 3 or 4. And even the Thursday series for the late model series that we have going on, that's also another series that has just about a rough 3, maybe 2 to 3 on that one. So they all brought down their average quite a bit tonight, Saturday, and Thursday, so maybe the Pro Series can do that tomorrow. And, final thoughts for me is the 26, whatever he's got going this next week, I kind of want some of that too.
Yeah, Jose Gonzalez seems to know where it's at. The next race coming up on the calendar, as we noted, we do have this next week off, so everybody can enjoy the break. We are going to be back on, though, for the 5th race on the year game on the New Year's side of things. January the 2nd, we will be at Michigan. Michigan's completely different than what we've seen. We have seen Fontana, and a lot of guys compare them because essentially they are sister tracks in a way. Both 2-mile D-shaped ovals, the only ones like it on the calendar. But obviously we're under the lights in Fontana for the season opener, and a daytime Michigan race drives completely different. So it'll be fun looking forward to that one.
Yeah, and it's going to be, the same story, different track, because here at Vegas, it's all about tire wear, and at Michigan, after about 20 or 30 laps, it is all about tire wear. So it's going to be fun to watch these guys, and yeah, I'm with Austin. I think the LSRTV Christmas party should be in Puerto Rico this year.
We'll hit Jose Gonzalez up and see if we could arrange that. Jeff Ward, Jose Gonzalez, Bobby Terrell, want to give him a thank you for sticking around and chatting with us here post-race. That's going to do it for us. Tonight we are back on in one night's time for our second-to-last race on 2016. It is another race on the NASCAR iRacing Pro Series here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. You can make sure to tune into that one and watch that race live as well. Coverage begins just shy of 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and that'll be the second-to-last race on this calendar year. You can find our full and upcoming broadcast schedule, including some of the things coming up in 2017, on our website at www.livesimracingtv. You can also stay up to date with us on social media. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel to catch all of the broadcasts live. You can find that at youtube.com facebook.com/LSRTV. You can follow us on Twitter at LSRTV, and you could also give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/LSRTV official to stay up to date with all the latest information. Until next time, that does it here tonight for us from Las Vegas. On behalf of the entire team at LSRTV, for the folks behind the scenes, and for the crew topside, for myself, Evan Pasoko, for Austin Coop, Gabe Wood, and our producer, Cisco Scaramuzo, I want to congratulate Jeff Ward on making up for an average finish in the first 2 races of this year of 37. To break out with back-to-back wins inside the top 2 and get it a win tonight to punch him into the championship. We will not see you again for RSR coverage on this side of the calendar year, so Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. We will see you in January from Michigan.